this is not just a summer seaside project. If you're a Pisces star sign or a pescatarian, or you just like the shape of fish, this is a fun thing to do with wire. So you can also make a bubble chain, which looks fun as a chain linking system. You can use beads, you can use hang it off a key ring, anything. So you can see here I've used coloured wire. This one I have done a little shoal of daddy, mummy, baby fish swimming in a row for a necklace. So all sorts of things. You can even make it as earrings. So I'm using 0.8 of a millimeter, 20 gauge copper wire, and I'm going to cut about, let's just check, about 6 inches, I'd say. Yeah, about 6 inches of wire. And obviously if you want to make a bigger fish, you'll cut more, and a smaller one you cut less. So I'm folding it in half. I'm bending the wire in half, and I'm trying to create a point at the center. So just squeeze it a little bit, because that's the pointy end of the fish. I mean, this is a very simple abstracted shape, and if you want it wider than mine, I've done quite slimline fish, more sardines I'd say, but you just increase the space that you make inside. And now I'm using 0.4 mil to do all the binding. You could use this in another colour wire, but I'm using copper as I just have it to hand at the moment, so you know, anything that comes to hand. So the first thing you're going to do is connect that crossover tail bit. So where the tail crosses over, and you want to leave a good inch for the tail because you're going to spiral it in, so you need at least an inch. And then once you've connected it there, you're going to wrap the wire first around one of the framework wires, and then back across to the other one, and then back across to the top. Each time you're wire wrapping inside this space, you're connecting it to the top and base of the frame, and that will hold it in place. Otherwise it's going to slide, and as it's a sort of tapered shape. So keep binding it completely around once on the top and the base as you move through the whole of the space. And you don't have to worry about being neat, it doesn't have to be perfect. You'll see it won't make any difference. You could get a young child to do this. Once you've filled most of the area, you want to add a bead in for the eye. So just pick your selected bead, pop that in near the end of the piece, and then wire it on at the top. And then if you've got, like me, you've got quite a lot of wire left over, you can use that to wire around the bead just to sort of offset that bead a bit more. You don't have to do this. This is just, I find if I do it, it means that the eye stays in position rather than moves around. So just, if you've got leftover wires, I say just go round and round the outer part of the bead, the circumference of the bead, and that just sort of makes like a little wire setting, makes the bead stand out a bit more. And then you can finish it off wherever, however much you've got, or wherever it lands. Just wrap it round one of the sides, frame sides, and then if there's a spiky bit on the end, make sure you cut that off as well. So that just sets it off a little bit. Now that's not enough wire. I always like to put another layer, and really the amount of wire you wire wrap over the body is completely up to you. If you like it to be very open, filigree, leave it like that. The other thing you can do is the next layer of wiring can have little seed beads on it. Or you could have seed beaded the whole entire thing if you had the patience to do that. So, you know, there's so many options. Now we're going to do the tail. So go to the very, very ends and create a little circle at each of the tail ends. And then grip that and curl that around. So, and then bring the wire in. So that's you know, that's up to you how decorative you do that. I mean, if you want to leave masses, you know, more wire, you have it a bigger spiral. So, you know, you'll work out what to do once you've made one. And then we're going to hammer the tail ends, only the tail ends. You don't need to hammer the rest of it because you don't want to hammer the woven wire. So that just gives it a bit of work hardening. And so that's the basis of the frame. And you can leave it like that, but I'm going to make some fins. So the fins, there's a top fin and a base fin. I'm going to put this on this. I leave about 1 inch and then I go up and down, create a tiny little sort of crenellation or, you know, curvy top. And I want about 4 little loops like that, but really this is completely up to you. So that will be my top fin. And then I'm going to make a smaller one for the base fin. Same thing, but not as many ups and downs or wiggles, whatever you want to call it. There we go, that'll be enough. 3 wiggles. So once you've got those, you then want to hammer the very, very ends, only the ends, just to make them nice and firm. And make sure there's sort of the sides of this become quite sort of triangular. So go to the very, very ends, hammer the tips. That spreads and work hardens them. And then they're ready for attachment to your piece. So you're going to grip, you can start off, I'm going to start with a big one. So get hold of your either chain nose pliers, whatever you want to use. Work out which is the front because you want to wire wrap away from the front and hold it where you feel you want that top fin to sit. So just sort of visualize it first. And then you're going to poke the end through and around and just do 1 wrap or 2 wraps, that's up to you. 1 wrap is enough. And then cut off any excess and trim and neaten the ends. So there's 1 piece on, and then I'm going to just do the other side of it. As I said, you don't have to put a fin on it, you can just have it as a very simple abstracted shape. But if you're doing a slightly bigger fish, it does give it a little bit more detail. So now, after having done that first fin, I'm going to go to the base one, which is sort of approximately underneath but sort of further back. It's always a bit of a fiddle holding everything, but again, with everything, it just takes a little bit of practice. So we're nearly there now with the last fin. I have done quite a few of these with beading in the middle, and they do look very effective. Obviously it takes a lot longer, and you can make lovely sort of stripy patterns when you're using beads. Or you could just thread, you know, a few beads dotted over the center of the piece as well. So there we have the basic premise of the fish, and if you want to fill in a bit more of the body, you just cut more of the binding wire, and you can also then wire that in to the fin area. I've cut a long strip, so I'm working working with half on one direction and half at the other. So I'm threading it in the middle, and I'm going to connect it to the frame, but then I'm going to use some of that wire to come into the fin as well, just to add something there. And it also strengthens, it means that the fin won't move, flop around or move up and down. It gives the whole piece a nice sort of solid feel, and it becomes more of a unit. So it's really up to you if you want to weave in and out of that, the fin area. But I want to fill it up a bit more, so I don't want it I just want more wire on the body, a fuller body. So once you've gone past the fin area, you can just bind it because it will sit in between the wires that you've already put on. So you can just wrap. It's much easier at this stage. It's only the center piece with the fins that you have to sort of go in and out of the framework. And you could also use another color wire. So you could add either a bit of silver, thin 0.4 wire over this copper and just keep building on it to make it a sort of fuller effect, more metallic effect. And using 2 wires is very effective because it does sort of glint through the base layer. So I highly recommend, if you've got color coated enameled wires, do use them. So you can see a fuller effect is good. So there, I've now used another color just to add a bit more depth. And then finally, you just tweak and twist. So that's why I didn't worry too much about the way I put on the wires. This little twist gives a little bit more uniformity to the body because you've got a little zigzag. I would always work on it down on my mat and then twist and twist and twist, but because you probably can't see what I'm doing when I'm doing that, I'll have to hold it up and show you what I'm doing. So I'm just placing the pliers flat down with the tips and then twisting them to create this little zigzag, and it bunches them up, but it also tightens them and gives you a nice little pattern, a waviness, just like the waves of the sea. So that's really all you have to do, and then you can decide, am I going to hang it from the top fin as a pendant? Am I going to hang it, make it into a keyring or a handbag charm or just a decoration? You can fill up the base of the tail as well. But there it is, a little fish. So enjoy making your own versions and coming up with your own designs for necklaces, earrings and bracelets. Have fun!